We've gone through stage 1. We've gone through the first underground. Let's get set to find out what's in store for stage 2.
Stage 2. Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. Icons from The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, Metroid, Fire Emblem, and many other classic series face off in this celebration of all things Nintendo. 2 groups of 8 will fight it out, and the top 6 players in each match will move on to the next stage. The rest will drop to the underground. Time to turn the volume up, turn the items on, and show us your moves. May the best smasher knock out the rest.
Well, a game that probably needs no introduction, Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. 8-player Smash. Let's take a look at the rules before we get all excited and break stuff down here. Here's how it's going to work out with 16 competitors still remaining. It's going to be a 6-minute match, items on score attack. And how that works is, if you get a KO, you get +1 point. If you get knocked out, you lose a point. If you get a self-destruct, you're going to lose 2 points. If for some reason you get an itchy trigger finger or the dog sits on the controller, you hit pause on accident, that's -1 point. The top 6 players in each match will move on to the next stage. It's going to be 8 players on the stage, items on. And so, Bill, let's start with you here. A lot of people very familiar with 1v1, Fox only, Final Destination. This is going to be so much different here, what we're getting set to see. How do you even start to explain and break down 8-player Smash items on?
You know, it is not easy to do. 8 players, there is a lot going on. You have items all over the place. You even need to think about things like, how big is my character? Am I big and strong? Do I have a big KO that I can hit? Am I just a target if I'm playing a big character? The other thing, you really want to think about, what is my final smash? With items on, there will be smash balls, and there certainly are final smashes that can get you more KOs than others.
And you mentioned those items. Eric, there are a lot of items. Some, let's be honest, they're better than others.
That's true.
What items should these players really keep an eye out for to try and grab in order to help propel themselves to victory?
You know, for me in 8-player Smash, my first pick of the item, if like a hammer drops, I'm running straight for the hammer, because you grab the hammer and you're basically just like, knocking everyone out who touches it, and it has a huge range of motion. I think that's the item to look for.
What are you supposed to do with the hammer once again when you get it?
I do something like that. Yeah, something like that.
And so, Bill, you're talking a little bit more about character selection. With 8 players, we've seen in very competitive play, you have that space to use your combos, to be very technical. How is that going to change when you've got 8 people and essentially you always have somebody near you trying to knock you off the stage?
It's a challenge. You know, when I'm playing 8-player Smash, the first thing that I do is I look at the percentages. You look for those high percentage opponents, you try to take them out first. That's where you're going to get the KOs, and when you're playing a score match in time, that's how you're going to come out on top.
Now, there's a term we're going to use called mobs. Smitty, at every point of this entire match, we're going to see about 5 or 6 characters just beating in on each other.
Right.
How important is it to kind of avoid those, but then also maybe you throw your hat in the ring every once in a while?
Yeah, I mean, you want to basically stick to the outside of one of those big, scrums in the middle of the match where everyone's taking tons of damage and rush in. If your character has a rush attack and can basically just clear it out, maybe knock out a couple of them, that is a great strategy.
Sounds like the players are ready for our first round. 8 players, Smash Big Battlefield, items on. That's right, score attack. And let's pick it up. Pikachu, Cloud, Bowser, Peach, Pikachu, Falco, Rosalina, and Luma, then Captain Falcon. Keep an eye on big old Bowser, 60% already. And you talked about keying in on percentages, and already in this one, Bill, you've got Captain Falcon and Bowser both getting close to that KO range, close to triple digits.
That's right. We've already seen Bowser flying off the edge there. He's made it back. That's why at A. Very, very big move by Tuberon. He's playing as, is that
Cloud with a very
yes.
nice KO on Bowser. You start to see the assist trophy being used as well, too. The Spinies from Mario. Pikachu with a Thunderbolt. Going to go ahead and send Rosalina and Luma flying. However, you see Bowser trying to protect the edge on the right-hand side, but here comes a barrel into play here, Smitty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see Rosalina and Luma, and it depends how heavy that character is. Like, a heavy character is harder to knock off the stage. whereas the light one, maybe Pikachu at 104%. If you can target Pikachu right now, you can just knock him out.
Keep an eye. Rosalina and Luma 135, Pikachu 143, and another Pikachu at 121. A butterfly kiss will send him sailing at this point, and yes, Rosalina and Luma, they're gonna go ahead and get KO'd. You've got Bowser trying to do some damage, knock people over. You've got Genesect coming out and helping everybody. Those Pokeballs can be very important. And already, just a minute and a half into this 8-player Smash, you see the challenge that every player is facing. Whew. Now we see Peach using that bomb, doing a lot of damage right there. However, no items on the field at this point right now. Both characters, all these characters, Lipstick popping up right there to the left. It's going to go ahead and do some damage. If you hit them, going to sprout that flower. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, Cloud and Peach trying to juggle on that edge. You see Falco at the top as well, too. And early on, Falco doing a fine job here, Smitty, at 106 even.
Absolutely, and you really have to, pick. Oh, as you said, you just said it, and you got screen splatted just like that. But I mean, some of these characters have great recoveries. That means if they get knocked off at the stage at a high percent, they're able to make their way back. Others, are not so fortunate.
Captain Falcon getting the help of an assist trophy right there. Bowser set sailing to your left. Oh, here comes the blue shell thrown by Pikachu without the hat. That blue shell will seek out the leader. It caused some major damage. Goes to show you the Cloud's looking pretty good. However, Pikachu trying to spam those Thunderbolts on the left-hand side.
So that's a good thing. Sorry. Because Cloud was targeted with that blue shell, it means he's in the lead. It means other characters might want to think about taking him out or trying to get some sort of advantage on him. And he's got another KO right there.
Tuberon as Cloud is cleaning up shop right now, Bill. And do you see that concerted effort? There's our first Smash Ball on the stage here, Bill.
That's right.
And it looks like Captain Falcon has that Smash Ball. Here comes the blue Falcon, but misses. Woo. Fire bar on the field right now that's going to help a character that doesn't have a whole lot of range on their regular normal attacks. Pikachu going to go ahead and throw that. Peach going to go ahead and knock Bowser to the right. Rosalina and Luma sent sailing. Cloud trying to focus on Captain Falcon. Just under 3 minutes left. Top 6 will advance. We've got an item box in the middle right now. Could be filled with lots of goodies. And Bill, you look at this point as you start to get close. This Cloud sends Pikachu sailing. Bill, you look at this point, maybe if you haven't got many KOs, how aggressive do you want to try and be?
Well, I think if you're anybody other than Tuberon, you want to be really aggressive, and you probably want to go after him because he's in the lead. He's the winner of our SDCC 2015 Kids Tournament, and it's clearly showing here that he knows what he's doing, even in 8-player Smash.
And Smitty even being defensive as we see.
He put them all together.
That comes up huge at this
point. The double!
That
got both of them. Who was that?
Absolutely critical. Great performance, and as we see, grabbing those items is going to be the difference as Tuberon with that super scope, but no! Bowser going to go ahead and get a KO since Captain Falcon's lying to the right-hand side of the screen. You see Bowser just hanging out on the right-hand side. Smitty, what else are we seeing here?
So it looks like we just saw a fairy, and I think who picked that up? Maybe Pikachu picked that up? And that's going to heal a huge chunk of your percent. When you stay at a low percent, you can actually take those risks and start attacking more.
Every bit of healing absolutely helps. Bowser going to go ahead and take Pikachu for a dance. Sends Pikachu sailing. Cloud on your right-hand side. Tuberon, your leader early on so far. And there goes Pikachu up against your screen. It might be hard to tell, but you got Pikachu with a mushroom down at the bottom. There's the beehive. That Cloud's going to go ahead and try and throw a Captain Falcon. Bees, your firearms are useless against them, Bill.
I tell you, right now is the time to be looking at those percentages, seeing what you can do to get those final last few KOs in. We're approaching just a minute left in what is really a chaotic match.
There's the Smash Ball. It's the drumstick of all the items. Who's going to go ahead and grab that? Pikachu with the hat going to try and get it, but no, Cloud misses. That Smash Ball could be the difference in advancing or not. It's still up for grabs. It looks like Falcon
come on.
Let's see.
Yeah, was that the double? Bowser dodged that.
Ride with the blue Falcon, and Captain Falcon showing Falco who the true blue Falcon is. Meanwhile, you've got Pikachu at 152. We'll see you later right there. By you, Pikachu. Each at 86, Captain Falcon at 84. And Bill, you got to be really aggressive with 30 seconds left here.
You absolutely do. Looking at these percentages, you've got a Pikachu and a Peach, as well as Captain Falcon that would be potentials for KOs in these final minutes. Rosalina also with her floatiness high up on the screen. What we just saw is a good potential target.
Tuberon going as Cloud has a home run bat, so you don't want to connect with that. We saw what it did to Sandbag. However, Captain Falcon goes flying to the left. That's going to go ahead and cost some points. And that's star for Tubron. The rich just get richer as we have 4 seconds left. Let's see if anyone can get one more KO before the timer expires.
Ooh,
and
doesn't
that
happen.
is time.
Yep, look at that.
And Tubron is Cloud. Very nicely done. There's your top 6. Tubron, Wyatt,
8
Dan,
KOs.
Neff, Marco.
Plus 7.
Although we got a tie for 7th, and so don't forget, there is a tiebreaker. We will go to damage dealt, followed by damage taken to figure out that tiebreaker, so we'll let our judges figure that out. Once again, you see Rosalina and Luma, Captain Falcon, they're both at 7, but that's not going to matter because we do have our top 6 because Jeff B finished at 6. So the top 6 of this match will advance to the next stage. And initial thoughts of trying to follow all that action right there, Eric.
Tubron just dominated. You could see him just like clearly being like, okay, this person's at 80%, I'm going to go after them. And obviously that paid off. He was at plus 7. Everyone else was only at plus 2. I mean, that was the closest.
And Bill, the ability to point someone out that's got a high percentage, be able to navigate all the chaos that's going on, and it almost seems like you have to find those moments where an opening is there and then make the most of it.
It's true, and while you're doing all of that, you've got to pay attention to what's happening around you, who's coming after you, because even if you've got a target in mind, it's very, very possible that you could have any kind of chaos happening in between you and them.
We saw the items, the assist trophies. There's a lot to manage out there, and sometimes with those assist trophies, you're 7 opponents turning into 8 opponents, and this is score attack mode, and so you will see the final scores. The top 6 will advance to that next round. We'll have our next group of 8 competitors go here, but Smitty, it kind of seems like the items take such a precedent, and that if you can get those 1 or 2 items that can turn a match, maybe it's a smash ball, maybe it's a home run bat, maybe it's a hammer, that can make the difference.
Yeah, I mean, that hammer, the home run bat, if you can get like a bomb and throw it in a huge cluster, that's going to knock everyone back, and if they're at high percentage, it's going to knock them straight off of the stage.
Let's take a look at some of that action that just took place in that first round of 8-player smash. You see Tubron and some of the items that we're going to see here. What do we see in form right here, Smitty, as you know, this isn't just your average everyday item, basically.
Yeah, so this is an item you have to actually collect 3 different parts, put them together, then that gives you the ability to target, and you can see hit Falco and Pikachu there, knocked them both clean out.
And those items, Bill, that you can get multiple KOs, I mean, that's going to make such a big difference when the top 6 advance. I mean, really only 2 people are getting knocked out every single match, and something like that can be the difference maker.
Absolutely, and what we're seeing in these top 6 are 2 of our players from overseas. 360 Chris M, talented speedrunner from Germany, and Dan S, who is a great Splatoon player and tournament organizer up in Canada. Obviously, we've got a global component to this tournament, and the 2 of them moving on means that they still have a shot at this.
Hence the term World Championships, of course. Now, let's be honest, something else happens in these matches. If I were playing out there, they would call me the wounded deer. If you are a very talented player and you maybe see someone that's struggling, Bill, do you seek them out to try and get some easy KOs?
That could be a strategy that comes out to play. Personally, I would be more likely to go after somebody who's in the lead because if I take them out, they get a fall. And I get the plus point for that. And so that's definitely going to impact their score overall while helping me.
That's true. I've played quite a bit of Smash with you, though, Bill, and I know that you are heartless. And, you know, you go after the weak and the wounded. That's your style.
Are you saying you're the weak and the wounded?
I walked right into that.
Well, Bill, the other day we had a chance to play, and using Mr. Game & Watch took us all to school, so it's certainly great to learn some lessons from him. But really, with these 8 players and all that chaos, how important, Bill, is the defensive aspect, trying to keep that percentage down to a minimum as much as possible?
That's a definite strategy, staying out of the fray, minimizing the percentage damage on you, because the lower that you can keep that for a longer duration, the less likely you are to build up numerous KOs over the course of the match. Certainly, we know other people within the treehouse who they execute a strategy of sort of play on the edges and then swoop in for the KO and then get back to safety on the edge. And that's really, I think, the smart way to play, but maybe not as honorable.
And we saw some of those larger characters, and in the example of Bowser, doesn't fly as far when he gets hit here, Smitty, but you're such a big target that if you're in the middle of some of those mobs, you're taking on significant damage.
You are, but Bowser has a lot of great abilities that can rush into the battle. He has one actually that's butt stomp. You basically, fly up into the air and then just crash down. And if you can crash down on a huge group, you have that ability to just clear it out.
Sounds like the players are ready for round 2 of 8-player Smash. Our 8 remaining players in stage 2. So let's send it down to them as they get set. Remember, this is score attack Top 6 will move on to the next stage. Every KO, every self-destruct, it matters. Let's take a look at our characters. Roy, King DD, Ganondorf, Bayonetta, Mario, Shulk, Little Mac, and Link. So keep an eye out for them. 10 seconds into this one, we have a party ball already. That's going to be a lot of items coming out of there, Smitty.
Let's see what we got. Looks like we got a fire bar sword.
Got an ore club, a star rod, and a cuckoo, of course, because why not? We go ahead and see King DD already using a lot of the down.
Numbers getting hit with those cuckoos. You see that?
Numbers with the cuckoo, they're going to attack you just like they do Link in any of those Legend of Zelda games. Meanwhile, you see Asa with Ganondorf. Don't forget, Asa was at EVO this year. Very proud that he wasn't completely terrible there, as he mentioned. And there goes Roy, your first character to get KO'd in this second match of 8 players in Stage 2 here at these championships. And now we have a lot of players at triple digits. Looks like this is going to be another highly contested battle decided at the end.
So looking at Little Mac is a great character. He hits really hard. He has almost 0 recovery. You get him in the air, you kind of knock him off the stage. Him getting back on there without suffering a KO is really tough.
You mentioned Little Mac with 0 recovery. That's tough. And there we see that blue shell taking on Bayonetta. Bayonetta sailing to the right. Let's see if Roy and Bayonetta can recover. Meanwhile, Kyle playing as Link, able to recover as well too. Oh, Little Mac with a KO on Link. And there's our first smash ball of the match. Bayonetta trying to get it. Looks like Bayonetta has it. And look out, folks. Let's see if Bayonetta can take advantage of this final smash.
She should really be trying to target Roy Little Mac at this point.
That looks uncomfortable. We'll just put it that way. Oh, there's a golden hammer to the right as Little Mac sends King DDD going. However, Thomas G with the golden hammer gonna go ahead and rack up a lot of KOs. Very important. Now, we also see John Numbers playing as Shulk, and we hear about a counter move that a lot of these characters have, Bill. How does that work out?
Now, certainly in an 8-player match, a counter can be a big advantage, especially if you're in the middle of the mob, people are attacking. You can use that to clear them out, potentially even get a KO or 2.
Shulk with one of those powerful counters in the entire game. We're at around 3.5 minutes left, so almost halfway. Remember, top 6 scores advance to the next stage. It looks like Little Mac falling off the stage as well too. Link trying to hold on. It's anybody's match at this point so far.
The tingle comes out.
And we see the Tingle Assist Trophy and all sorts of flowers coming out over there. Meanwhile, King DDD trying to hang on to the far left, trying to avoid getting juggled. And we see John Numbers with a beautiful air juggle. Kyle able to recover, but let's see if Kyle can make it back from this. Numbers yet again with Shulk knocking Kyle to the back, but Kyle won't quit. Meanwhile, Bayonetta juggling Link to the top right of your screen. Let's see if Link can get back on stage. And there goes Mario, unfortunately, sailing. King DD using the freezy right there, getting hit by that. A lot of characters in that KO range here at this point here, Bill, and it's starting to get a little tricky. You look at characters like Bayonetta, you start to maybe target them as you see them having more success.
That's right, and certainly as you're at this point of the match, you're probably losing track of who's got what from a KO standpoint, so all you can really do is focus in on those percentages.
Shulk getting a couple of KOs right there. Little Mac with yet another one. Oh, we see some explosions in the middle as Ganondorf gets sent flying. King DD trying to hold on. King DD, Eric, very good recovery for a heavy character.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very floaty, so you get knocked off and you're able to float back without falling down.
Very floaty. I love the technical term here. See Chespin, the assist trophy, helping out right there, but there is a smash ball. Whoever gets it's going to turn the tide. Let's see if Link can use it.
I was going to get ooh.
Link has that smash ball ready to go. Let's see if Link lands.
Yeah.
Yes! Captures Bayonetta in the Triforce, and Ganondorf gets hit with some residual damage. That's a critical KO on one of our leaders here.
That was. I felt like Bayonetta may have been in the lead there. She was getting a lot of KO.
That X-Bomb doing some damage as well, too. But then here comes Little Mac, gonna transform with that final smash. And the little puncher has already got more power right there as Santiago sends him sailing. Don't forget that killer eye causing some damage, too. Ganondorf losing the opportunity to use the assist trophy. We've got 1:30 left at this point. And Bill, you start to think about, do I stick to the edge? Do I go in the middle? If I'm maybe one of those players that seems to be getting knocked off quite a bit, how aggressive do you have to be?
If I'm getting knocked off, I'm probably taking one of those 2 middle platforms towards the middle, not near the edge, but certainly not as high up on the stage that's going to send you off the top.
Ganondorf going to unleash the assist trophy. Got Midna helping out right there. However, you've got Link sending King DD flying to the right of your screen. Take a look at your left. Thomas G in numbers. 2 players playing exceptionally well. Bayonetta trying to juggle Shulk. Shulk using that defensive Monsanto art that's going to go ahead and prevent him, Smitty, from flying as far.
Yeah, all these characters have really unique abilities. Shulk is able to actually, get into defensive mode, get into offensive mode, get into smash mode, and use that to his advantage.
And Shulk had a couple of critical KOs, but yet another item that you have to piece together there, Smitty.
Yeah, that was a big one.
You've got the ray gun up for grabs, so Ganondorf, why not? That makes sense, Ganondorf with a ray gun. King DDD on the far left, sending some projectiles, trying to do some damage from the edge. 10 seconds left. Who's going to go for that critical KO and try and move themselves up into the top 6? Who's going to be able to do something special here? It looks like, almost in! No! Everyone's going to be safe at that point. Who's our winner? I think Shulk. John Numbers. Very impressive showing. Bayonetta second, and let's take a look at our top 6. You've got Numbers, Santiago. Oh my gosh. Thomas G, Ace of Butterfield, Cole G, Kyle W. They're all going to be safe moving on, but Shulk plus 12. What can you say about that? Very impressive performance by John Numbers.
Numbers knows what he's doing, and he's executing flawlessly.
Now keep in mind, John Numbers is a competitive Smash player. He is the 2015 NWC champion. He is also a competitive Smash player. I think he was even playing at a weekly just this week.
Of course, I think it would make sense that if you're familiar with Nintendo, you're going to be very familiar with Super Smash Brothers. So you saw that leaderboard right there in the standings of how they did after Smash. They're going to go ahead and create some standings here for us to take a closer look at, but we see the high level competition, and even though there's a lot of chaos going on, Bill, you still have those moments where high-skilled players like Numbers can go ahead and juggle and use combos. Let's take a look at our leaderboard after Stage 2. Your top 12 competitors that will be moving on to Stage 3. However, there is an underground, and we've got 4 players that are going to be moving on to that next stage of the underground. Let's see who it's going to be. You've got Kyle and Emil that survived Underground 1. They're going to be joined by Yellow Killer B, Abe, Steven, and Kyle. So they're going to have to certainly figure things out. And yet again, though, Bill, you get a chance for these players, even though they maybe didn't place in the top 12 in Smash, they get another life here in the Underground coming up.
That's right. Of course, the Underground is where the curveballs come in. You've got to be prepared for anything. You don't know what it could be.
In that Underground, we saw a balloon fight in the first one. Very exciting stuff right there. And Smitty, you look at the fact that, okay, maybe I didn't do what I could do in Smash, but I get another chance. And for more on the second Underground, let's toss it back down to Andrea.
Thank you so much, Jordan. I am still suffering from sensory overload. There was so much happening on the screen at that one time. Did you guys have any favorites from the last round? Okay, I can kind of make out what you're saying. I see a number sign in the front here. I like your hat, very nice. Well, we are going to get going on the second phase of the Underground. This is, of course, where these players have the opportunity to potentially get back into the competition. So let's find out what they're going to play next.
Underground Stage 2. It's Bird and Beans. Don't even try to pretend you saw this one coming. The higher a player can gulp a bean, the more points awarded. But watch out, fallen beans will break the platform. The 2 players with the highest scores stay in the competition. May the most versatile fans, or the hungriest, reach the top.
What? Are you kidding me? Bird and Beans. Raise your hand if you've heard of this one, if you're here joining the event right now. Hey, a couple loyal Nintendo fans heard of this one. Well, before we break down the explanation of exactly what we're going to see here, let's talk about the rules for Bird and Beans, our second Underground. You'll have 3 minutes to get the highest score, unlimited attempts. The top 2 advance to the next stage of the Underground with the highest score. And so, Bill, let's start with you on this one, man. Bird and beans. What's the object of this? This looked pretty simple, but what are the players going to be doing?
It looks simple. It is deceptively deep. You move left to right. You're shooting your tongue out, trying to grab green beans that fall from the sky. They're worth points. If you grab a white bean, it replaces a brick that a green bean may have knocked out if you missed one. If you happen to grab a flashing white bean, it will eliminate all the beans in the sky and replace all the bricks. Of course, it starts off slow. It speeds up as your points go up. And I tell you, if this had been released in the arcades back in 1991, we might be playing Super Puro these days instead of Super Mario. It's that good.
Go ahead and put the quarters up on the machine right there as you wait for your next turn. And Audrey, not all beans are created equal. As Bill pointed out, there's different things that they do, but there's also things that happen if you catch them at different levels. What about the scoring in Bird and Beans?
That's true. The higher you catch the bean, the more points you're going to get. So if you catch a bean right near the top, you're going to get 1,000 points. So there's something to kind of staying in the corner and trying to get those high-hanging fruit, high-hanging beans, if you will.
There's a lot of strategy going on in this one. And early on, Bill, the fact that we use that term that we use with Balloon Fight, rinse and repeat, there's not as many beans falling in the beginning. So you would think that you have a chance to get those thousands. At what point do you maybe say, listen, this isn't my best run, I've got to try this again and still use the allotted time that I have?
I mean, that's a very good point. I think if you find yourself grabbing beans really down low, you need to really change your focus because you're going to get, it drops. The closer it gets to the ground, the fewer points it's worth.
Sounds like we're ready to go here for Bird and Beans, so let's send it down to Andrea to get started here with Stage 2 Underground.
All right. Has anybody in the audience actually played this game? Oh, there we go. Fantastic. All right, players, are you ready to eat some beans? Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, Audrey, the first thing you'll notice is that the soundtrack to this game is phenomenal, as well as the sound effects. And we see early on that you're just trying to grab those beans, but it's not a very forgiving hitbox as well, too, here.
No, it's absolutely not very forgiving, and especially if these players, for some reason, haven't played this game before, they're really going to have to be filling it out right now.
And there you go right there, Emil with an early reset right there. Yellow Killer B getting a lot of beans critical. Couple of 300s right there as Yellow Killer B still with a clean platform, getting those hundreds. Those certainly matter. Another 300 for YKB, and you don't have a whole lot of beans on the stage at this point, but Bill, as you said, it's going to speed up here real soon.
Yep. As soon as you start grabbing a couple of thousands and you get that score up to around 4,000 points, not only does it speed up, it starts to brighten up, and the background can actually become somewhat distracting.
It's a very good point, and Audrey, also, your bird doesn't move the same speed all the time. Let's have more here shortly.
That's true.
As we are taking on Bird and Beans, as you get further along, as your score increases, as you continue to plow along, your character's going to move a little bit faster, Audrey.
Yeah, the beans are going to fall faster, your little bird there is going to move faster, so everything's just going to amp up until you're just grabbing beans for dear life.
And what we're seeing here with the controls here, Bill, you have to hold down that button to extend the tongue. It's not just one tap. You've got to have some finesse.
That's right. And the longer you hold it down, the farther it goes, but you cannot move while the tongue is extended, and that puts you at risk.
Oh, Abe getting hit by a bean and having to restart. Under a minute and a half left. We're halfway. It looks like Yellow Killer B at the highest score so far, above 2,000. However, Stephen G is starting to threaten that. Getting a couple of 10s. That's not going to really make up a lot of ground. 1:14 left on the clock. Stephen G, his bird with not much of a perch to move on, could really use a yellow bean. There you go. 106 left for Stephen G, just hanging on to 5 platforms that'll keep him alive so far in this World Championship, but over 2,500 at this point. But when you start to get to 3 platforms here, Audrey, there's not a lot of room to operate.
You're really feeling the heat with 3 platforms. You want to go for those white beans, repair some of those panels. Oh, there they go.
And the beat's starting to drop as that timer ticks down. Stephen G trying to be one of our last 2 survivors in the underground to move on. Our bird trying to do everything he can to get those beans. 35 seconds left for Stephen G. Let's see if he can hang on.
Oh.
Stephen G falling, but here comes Kyle Less looking very good with a couple of 100s right there. He's at the 3,000 point mark. That could be enough to move on. We'll have to see. However, you start to see the background develop. 15 seconds left. It's going to be very close here, folks. Kyle trying to get those beans, do everything he can. One high bean here, Audrey, could make a huge difference. 6 seconds left for Kyle. Can he get to 4,000 in 4 seconds? Kyle trying to do everything he can to get those beans. And Kyle with a critical 100 at the end, and that'll be 3 minutes time right there. And Bill, as we saw, it is much more difficult than it looks.
It certainly is. Really the key is getting those beans as high up as you can, because you can really rack up points quickly. I think we're going to end up seeing a high score in the 5,000s, but if you're really good at angling and getting those higher beans, you could clear that very, very quickly.
And that's very interesting right there, Audrey, because I think some of the highest scores we saw were 3,000 or 4,000. That's essentially 3 to 4 beans. And if you can time it perfectly, but it takes a lot of finesse to get those 1,000-pointers.
It takes a lot of finesse, and if you can just manage to get to that 5,000 mark, as Bill mentioned, you'll get that flashing bean, and that can change the score for you. That can clear the beans, repair your platforms, and get you a whole bunch of delicious points.
And I believe we didn't see anybody get to that 5,000 mark, so our judges are going to have to determine who had the 2 highest scores that'll move on to Underground 3. And once again, Bill, we look at all the skills needed from all of our players here at the World Championships, and you throw a definite curveball, maybe even a sinker in the form of bird and beans, and it just shows you that some of these players, though, that might not be too familiar with it, are so good at adapting on the fly.
That's right, and we saw that Yellow Killer Bee, she is a streamer, a speedrunner. She is playing a lot of classic games. She was one of those players that was pushing that score higher, and we'll see if her versatility is going to be able to pay off in this round.
Yeah, you mentioned that term, versatility, because, Audrey, there are players here that they're maybe very good at Smash or maybe really good at another game, but it's a matter of surviving until that game comes up for them where they can really shine.
Absolutely. You can't rest on your laurels at all. You have to be prepared for anything. You even have to be prepared for beans.
And
Bird
birds.
and beans. I think we're gonna see the downloads tick up just a little bit for that one after that. So let's take a look at our leaderboard after Underground 2. Who will survive and advance? Emil and Yellow Killer Bee. They move on to the next Underground. So very impressive stuff right there by Yellow Killer Bee to stay afloat. Emil absolutely shocked. And we just saw those last couple beans at the tail end able to propel Emil.
Yeah, those last beans made all the difference and clearly got him out of the underground, or further on.
Great stuff in the underground. Bird and beans. You never know what to expect here at the 2017 Nintendo World Championships. And just great stuff that we saw right there, Bill. When you look at a game like Bird and Beans thrown into the mix of everything, it's exciting, too, to see how they tackle that challenge. And a concept of this game that seems so core, so simple, there's so many finely tuned arts to it for the most part. And so we saw these players really handle that very well. But unfortunately, as we said, as 2 players advance, you can only have 1 champion, which means a couple more of our players are going home. For more on that, let's toss it down to Andrea.
Thanks, Jordan. Sadly, we do have to say goodbye to some competitors, but congratulations, YKB and Emil, for moving on to the next round. So thank you so much to all the competitors. Again, they're not leaving empty-handed. They're getting a certificate that will commemorate their experience here at the Nintendo World Championship 2017. But we have much more games to play. Are you guys ready for the next stage? All right, let's find out which game they're going to play next.
Stage 3. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The series that invented the item-fueled kart racing genre remains the high-octane thrill ride we know and love. Competitors will each choose a character and vehicle, then burn rubber across 2 twisted tracks. The top 8 will advance, and the rest will fall to the underground. May the fastest racer cross the finish line first.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for Nintendo Switch. And let's please welcome up Ashley Esqueda. Thank you so much for joining us. And before we get to the Mario Kart 8 action here with Ashley and Morgan, let's go ahead and take a look at the rules for Stage 3 Mario Kart 8. What it's going to be, a 2-race Grand Prix, normal Grand Prix scoring rules. We'll go 50cc Mount Wario, followed by 200cc Electrodrome. After those 2 races, points will be earned based on the rank in each race. Final rank is based on those combined points. And you guessed it, the top 8 advance to the next stage. The bottom 4, they're going to go ahead and head down to the underground. So, let's talk a little Mario Kart here, Ashley.
Let's.
50cc Mount Wario. There might be some people saying, well, can we take the training wheels off and unleash this bad boy? However, there's a lot of strategy that takes place at 50cc. What's going to happen with these racers when we slow things down to that point?
Well, first of all, 50cc is all about item management. Like we all talk about this, 50cc is a time where every movement, every item use has to be calculated. And these are really top competitors. These are people who love Mario Kart. They had to play Mario Kart to qualify to get here. So slowing it down a little bit might trip up some of them.
And Morgan, you look at the karts and characters that can be selected, and players will be able to change their kart and character before each race. Why does that matter so much? What's the variance we're going to see in the selection of some of these racers?
Well, yeah, you got the weight class, and that's big, and that's how much momentum you take, how much damage you can do if you bounce off, how fast it takes to get going again. But these guys, like I said, they qualified on 150cc. They may not have been training for 50. So at 50, they might think, you know what? I don't need that heavy character that I use at 150 or 200. I might mix it up a bit and use somebody I'm more comfortable with.
And we've been playing Mario Kart for years and years and years, and obviously the object is to be the first one to finish while using all sorts of items to basically keep your opponents at bay. But when you look at Mario Kart 8 Switch Deluxe, there are a couple changes in this one, Ashley. Let's start with some different item boxes we'll see out there, and then how do those mini turbos change in this edition?
Mini turbos, obviously a really big deal. I think the big one for me is the horn.
Yes.
Finally, a blue shell defense.
You get something to defend that blue shell, which will seek out anybody in first place. And Morgan, the fact that in this edition you can have 2 items at once, if you're a very strategic player, especially 50cc Mount Wario, that's going to be very, very handy as you try to navigate this track.
Yeah, exactly. Because with the 2 item box, you grab 2 items at once. You can use one right away and then still have one in the back pocket, or you could save both. And especially if you're out front and you get a 2 box with like 2 green shells, that's 2 chances to protect yourself from somebody coming behind you with red shells. Or if you're in the back, you might get like a red shell and a blue shell, and you circle through those real quick.
And you were talking about the items you get whether you're in the lead or maybe you're hanging back out in the friend zone in 11th and 12th place. The items are going to change depending on where you're at in the race here, Ashley. Tell me about some of the items you might get if, say, you're in 1st and 2nd place versus 9th, 10th, or 11th.
Well, I think we've all been there when we're in first place and we roll over a box and we get coins.
Yeah.
But you know, coins also help your top speed.
That's right.
You get 10, it's helping your top speed out. When you're a little bit farther back, you're going to see things like shells. You're going to see things like stars. You're going to see things like triple shells.
Also, you also have that lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt that you can use as well, too, to shrink all the rest of your characters here. And we talk more about kart class. Those lighter characters, they're going to be more agile, more nimble, that higher acceleration. And you figure here, Morgan, the fact that you're going to be getting hit by a lot of items, having a character that can pick themselves back up and get going again could prove to be very useful.
Exactly, and we have 2 races, so coming out of the first race, you don't want to be at the bottom. So maybe you want somebody, who can keep you in the middle, maybe compete for first, but just not be in last. Try it, because if you're a heavy character and you're way too far back, too late, you're not coming back.
Sounds like they're ready to start their engines. 12 competitors in a 2-race Grand Prix, Mount Wario 50cc, and already we see a wide selection of karts, cycles, and different weighted characters. But actually, this first part, what are we going to see here on this high speed slalom section on Mount Wario?
I think it's really interesting. You're going to see a lot of hops. You're going to see a lot of boosting. You're going to see a lot of drifting. And 50cc, getting that triple boost is really, really important.
Kyle W. racing out to the early lead as Donkey Kong. Meanwhile, Santiago in 3rd, Jeff B. in 2nd, but everybody's chasing Kyle W. at this point. Cole G. using a nice little shortcut right there, but it's Kyle W.'s race at this point. Very, very versed in Mario Kart. And Morgan, as you said, this could be our most competitive game because everybody here very familiar with this game.
Yeah, and you can see Kyle W out front. He's tricking off every jump. That's giving him a little speed boost and just trying to increase that lead and get as far away from the trouble behind him and all those items as he can.
Kyle W also cutting all the corners as well too, frequently checking that rear view mirror. Looks like a lot of the action is going to be in 2nd, 3rd, and 7th place. You see Cole G trying to chase down Santiago. Cole G with that red shell. Santiago, though, with no defense in 2nd, so that red shell could sneak up on Yoshi. But Ashley, here comes the tricky part here. A lot of trees and multiple paths.
Yeah, this is a tough part. I think getting through all these trees without hitting anything, getting through without being hit by somebody, getting through without a heavy class knocking you into a tree, all bad things to happen.
Right now, you've got Cole G in 3rd place, Tuberon in 4th, Santiago in 2nd. They're all neck and neck in the woods. And remember, Mount Wario, there's no laps. It's just one long race. Kyle W negating that red shell, and we've got the blooper ink on the screen right now. Santiago with the mushroom, though, could potentially use that for a shortcut at the end. Tuberon in 4th, bouncing back. Cole G in 3rd. Lots of tricks going on here. Oh, but here comes the blue shell.
Here it comes. Kyle W has nothing. He's got nothing to protect himself.
He's got a coin.
Here
Can't buy your way out of that one.
The map.
Kyle W falls off. Does that leave it open for Santiago A? Donkey Kong's going to take a little while longer to get going. They're coming down the home stretch. Santiago with the green shell, no luck there. But here comes Thomas G with the red shell. Could sneak up on Santiago. Tuberon in 5th. It's going to be coming close to this one, but Kyle W is the leader. And then John Numbers sneaks in. And just as we expected here, Ashley, such a highly contested race.
Highly contested. You know, Kyle W really did a great job of constantly checking his rear view, which is something you see at high levels of play. And also always had some kind of defense, except for that blue shell. But also made the great choice of diving off the side of the map, which gets you back on the track a lot faster.
That'll certainly save you more time. And we saw those items, Morgan, as you were saying, those really come into play 50cc because you're not moving as fast to separate yourself. And everyone, for the most part, can navigate the track. They're not going to be caught by any turns. And so the items, though, an interesting thing I want to discuss is if you're in 4th through like 8th and you're getting red shells, the thought is to be offensive with them, but is there any value in being defensive in those positions, even though you're not in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes you get in that offensive mindset, but if you just shoot those red shells straight behind you, you're probably going to take somebody out that's not going to be able to get past you by the end of the race.
Lots of exciting stuff taking place in that race. Let's take another look at some of the highlights here. Santiago, you see in the top left right here as Yoshi trying to handle this turn. You've got Jeff B in 2nd place right here. And what are we seeing from Yoshi here, Ashley?
This is really great. Santiago and Jeff B taking this shortcut, almost knocking him right into the chasm.
Yoshi's got
makes
some
it.
tricks as well, too. And that's interesting, though, because we talk about lightweight and heavy characters, and there's Yoshi as a medium character knocking back a heavy character right there. And that's something that might catch you off guard depending on how fast you're going, Morgan.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm interested to see what these players do if they pick the same character, if they mix it up going into the next round, which is going to be sort of the opposite end of the spectrum of the Mario Kart going into 200cc.
That next round, 200cc Electrodrome. And Ashley, what was it like for you the first time you picked up and tried 200cc after being so well versed in 150cc, which was normally the highest speed class?
I think it was just constant screaming. I think I was just screaming as I was driving into every wall, corner, off the edges. It was just so much fun, but also so fast. It's so much faster than anything we've seen before. And the first time you pick that up, it blows your mind a little bit, especially if you've played Mario Kart since SNES.
Yeah, it's a 30% speed increase from 150cc, but let's take a look at the results from our first race. That was Mount Wario 50cc. There are your top 8 competitors. Marco R in 8th. However, Wyatt, 360 Chris M, Dan S, and Ace of Butterfield not too far behind because we do have one more race coming up here, but you see some leaders that might be comfortably in the lead at the top right there, Morgan, and just exciting stuff early on in this first round of racing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Numbers, he wants to stay in that upper bracket. He wants to defend his championship, and he's looking great in 3rd place after that first race. So 2nd race, he might just want to go middle of the pack and make sure he stays up top.
As we mentioned, top 8 will advance. Players will get a chance to change their kart and character as we prepare for 200cc Electrodrome. And Ashley, there's a button that you have to use in 200cc that I just never usually use in Mario Kart. What is that I have to use?
I believe it's called brakes.
Yes.
There's no
having to
brakes
use
in
that
Mario
brake
Kart.
button.
What are brakes?
There's no
what-
brakes in
what are
Mario
brakes?
Kart.
We don't believe in brakes here in Mario Kart. All right, sounds like the next group is ready for their second race in the Grand Prix 200cc Electrodrome. And Morgan, as we take a look at this track, it's one of those ones that you can actually kind of manage in 200cc. It's not going to send you flying like Neo Bowser City or anything like that.
Yeah, this course has a good amount of like side rails, and this course almost feels like it was maybe built with 200cc in mind. And I think we're going to see players sort of excel and use the speed to their advantage here.
Hold on to your shells as we get set for 200cc Electrodrome. Kyle W., your clear winner the first time. However, this 200cc is going to put the onus more so on steering and control. And already, you see how fast things are going. How about John Numbers here, Ashley, purposely falling into 12th place to try and get a good item?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes that's what you got to do. And in 200cc, items could be the make or break if you're going forward or not.
If you're in last place, no one's going to hit you with the red shell.
Exactly right.
We see right now our early leader, Cole G, right now. Got a coin and a banana. We mentioned the double item, so Cole G with a little bit of defense as we're almost done with our first lap already. And coins also make a big difference in this here, Ashley, because you want to maximize that top speed.
Yeah, you want to maximize top speed, and in first place, you're going to see a lot of coins, so you're going to be top speeding it up.
Wyatt using one of the few shortcuts on this track, cutting through the static. However, that red shell don't care about no shortcut. It will seek you down as it knocks back Wyatt in. We talk about these anti-gravity areas here, Morgan. Why are these competitors going to be bumping into each other?
Yeah, so you actually get a speed boost when you bounce
great
off each
bump.
other, or if you bounce off the little bumpers. It's actually going to give you a boost. So when you get on those sections, you actually start wanting to bump into whatever you can find.
Kyle W. in second place has a couple of mushrooms. There's the static that he can cut through
Very
right there.
nice.
Perfectly perfected right there by Kyle W. as we get set for our third and final lap. Kyle W. with a red shell trying to hunt down the leader. We're only looking for the top 8 to advance after this. Santiago hanging on in 7th place, Cole G, but no!
defense!
Kyle W.
Another
passes
red
Cole
shell
with a red
incoming.
shell.
I'd like to point out how
Triple red shells for Kyle.
Kyle W. actually has some world records in Mario Kart 150cc, so he knows what he is doing.
Kyle with a secret service of red shells escorting him
no,
to the finish, but no,
Cole G.
there's the lightning bolt. That's going to go ahead and send Tuberon into the chasm. He's going to have to speed up and try and catch Tuberon falling behind to 6th place. Cole G trying to hang on in the top 8 as well, too. Jeff B finishes second. And there you have it, Ashley. An item at the tail end can really throw things off.
Wow, I mean, that lightning bolt took out Tuberon and Cole and just right into the drink. And there's just nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. We've all been there. It's so frustrating.
And Morgan, 200cc is so fast. These races end so quickly that there is very little margin for error.
Yeah, there's a little margin for error, but you might fall off a side twice. Like, you might never do that in a 150. You're never going to go off a ledge. And here you gotta get back on your feet. You got to keep going. I think we saw that from some of those competitors that came back late.
And Ashley, it goes to show you when you're in the lead like we saw, if you don't have anything to defend yourself, especially in 200cc, if you get hit with an item, that slowdown is going to cost you a lot of time.
Yeah, especially in 200 when everyone is moving so quickly. It's so easy to catch up to anybody. You know, when you are, and also, I mean, I think a lot of the lighter classes are a little bit more at an advantage here in 200cc because they can accelerate much faster than the heavyweights.
Let's take a look at a replay from this fast and fabulous race that we had. And listen, we know Mario Kart, it can be responsible for some spike controllers every once in a while. Look at Cole, unfortunately, top left, takes a red shell at that point. And we know in
breaking my
Mario
heart.
Kart, when it rains, it pours. Another hit right there. And then another red shell is going to seek out Cole, unfortunately. And that's what happens. If you get stuck in that middle area where there's a lot of items going back and forth, it can cause a lot of damage and really slow you down. And you just can't get discouraged. You got to keep both hands on the wheel, 10 and 2, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, we've all been there, Cole. We've all been there.
So Morgan, they're working on getting the scores tabulated in the back, but here we have our first racing game, essentially, of these championships. And your overall thoughts so far from just the variety of talent we've seen from the competitors?
Well, I think it was exciting. I think some people are going to have either watching that live or maybe they watch those replays later. We have some high-level players here because they qualified. The qualifiers all played Mario Kart to get here, and I saw some advanced stuff happening there, and it was really cool to see them get to sort of strut their stuff.
Sounds like our leaderboard is ready to go, so let's take a look and see who survived and advanced. And there are your top 8 heading on to stage 4. We've got some competitors that are absolutely pumped down there because you never know how those scores are going to work out. However, that does mean we've got 4 new players headed to the underground, and as we move our way through the pipe, let's see who's going to be taking on Emil and Yellow Killer B. You've got Dan 360, Chris M, Asa Butterfield, and Wyatt A as we get set for the next underground stage. And fortunately, you get a chance to redeem yourself. That's what we keep talking about. And Ashley, tell me about the focus you have to have if maybe you didn't have the performance you wanted to have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe right there.
I think it's just the same as when you're playing at home. I mean, you have a bad race, you have to just take a deep breath, forget about what just happened, and get right back in there and compete.
And we've seen Yellow Killer B and Emil survive the first couple undergrounds here, Morgan. So you look at the confidence they might have moving forward, knowing that they've staved off elimination a couple times.
Yeah, I know. Emil has made it through every underground stage, so maybe that's where he likes to live.
And it's been exciting as well, too, that 2-race Grand Prix for Mario Kart. I know we were excited for hopefully a potential tiebreaker. We would have gone to Rainbow Road in 64 150cc, and if they tied after that, Baby Park 200cc. That would have been pretty awesome to see right there, Ashley.
My heart's breaking right now to have not seen that. I was really hoping.
And as you get set now that the field is starting to thin out a little bit here, Morgan, you've got some incredible players here. It's going to be great to see them continue to display their skill. But for more from this championships, let's toss it down to Andrea.
Thanks, Jordan. I'm here with WWE superstar Bailey. Yes, give it up. We're so glad that you came out and participated in the Nintendo World Championships this year. You, of course, no stranger to competitions. How did you feel about your performance and your participation here today?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Nintendo and everybody for having me here. It was a huge honor. It was an honor to represent WWE. But this is very different than what I'm used to, and the competition that I'm used to is usually just one other person across the ring from me, and you have some of the world's best players coming, and they caught me off guard. You know, congratulations to everybody for making it this far, and it was so fun. I'm just glad that I got to meet a lot of cool people and to have come this far, you know. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely, thanks for being here. And I, of course, am here with Asa Butterfield, who is now on your way into the underground. You started off really strong in stage 1, got a little hairy there in the middle. How do you feel about your performance going into the next competition?
Well, I'm pretty happy so far. I'm seeing like the greatest losers bracket run in history about to come out. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to find out what you're going to be playing next. You guys, here it comes, a game reveal for the next underground.
Underground, Stage 3. Donkey Kong Country returns. You may be expecting some running, jumping, ground-pounding action, but instead, it's time for a different type of kart race in a mine cart. The first 2 players to reach the last barrel will race on to the next stage of the underground. May the leaders of the bunch prove they're the best of the DK crew.
Donkey Kong Country returns, and I love the reaction of some of our competitors because they know, oh my goodness, this is going to be tricky. Before we get into the description of what they'll actually be doing, here are the rules for this underground stage 3. Players will have 6 minutes to get to the end of this level, 4-3 bombs away. The level ends when you get to the barrel at the tail end. We're looking for the top 2 finishers. That's it. Rank is based on the fastest time on the in-game clock. We'll have an out-of-game clock at 6 minutes to let them know the time frame they have. Once again, unlimited tries. The first 2 to get to that barrel will be successful. And Ashley, we're familiar with Donkey Kong Country and the minecart sections. They can be very precarious. What is going to be needed from our players in this particular level?
Jump timing, number 1, jump timing. And also, you want to make sure it's the right kind of jump. We were talking about that earlier, right, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. There's certain jumps that if you overcommit to them or you jump a little bit too high, then you're not prepared for that next jump that's going to come up, and that's going to spell your doom.
Course familiarity is going to be vital in this level because once you have a chance to take a couple runs, we've had a chance as well too, you understand that you need to time when those jumps come up, and it's really feathering that A button, but there's also a lot of distractions that take place as well too, Ashley.
A lot of moles throwing bombs. Yeah, very distracting, and they're in the foreground, so it's easy for players to focus on that and not pay attention to maybe icicles or crystals that might be in their way.
Just a few distractions when you're a giant gorilla going through a minecart level.
As you do.
Looks like the players are ready to go, so players to your stations, and let's get set for Underground 3. Donkey Kong Country returns. Players, start. As we mentioned, 6 minutes to get to the barrel first. It's based upon the in-game timer, so you look at each individual feed, you will see a clock on the bottom left that'll let them know what their time is. That'll be the determination on anything's close. But as we mentioned, it's all about feathering that A button. There's a couple tricky sections here as we have our first. Oh!
They all just
5 players go ahead and just go to the chasm. Asa Butterfield.
just learning there that you're gonna have to duck under those ice crystals by pressing down.
Yes, DK is gonna have to duck, but then once again, that first section's tricky. You've got to know what jump power to use to make sure.
There it is.
that you set
Light
yourself up
taps.
here, Ashley.
Light taps. It's all about light or hard press of that button. See right there? Too much. Too much.
If you jump too high into the icicles, you're gonna have a bad time. More with Donkey Kong Country here in a second. Donkey Kong Country returns. We've got 2 players trying to stay alive in the underground, but Dan goes in. No, 360 Chrism pops up too soon and hits the icicle. Now there are checkpoints here, Ashley. If you can get to that, it's going to give you a lot more attempts closer to the finish.
Very much, and especially when that timer's running a little bit late, you're going to want to have already hit that checkpoint.
Wyatt A, 45 seconds into this one so far, but no!
So if you can bounce off that mole, you can actually get extra air and get up onto that top rail.
Dan S. taking a trip and scratching the ceiling of the icicles at this point, and Emil surviving that part. Emil, Yellow Killer B. They've stayed alive in this underground a couple times, but you can feel the tension here, Ashley.
I'm having some real life flashbacks right now, just all the times I've died in Donkey Kong Country, and it's happening over and over again.
Yellow Killer B gonna need some aspirin for that headache. 4:24 left for our competitors. We're just looking for the top 2 to get to that barrel at the end, and so far, this level has proven treacherous for all of our players here. And Eric, you do start to kind of get into a feel for what you need to do with the jumps here as you go further and further in the level.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Dan is actually making it to the section. Oh, I smoked
Not quite.
Dan getting distracted by the mole with the bombs. You got to watch out for those moles with bombs. Meanwhile, Emil trying to just get things going here and find some momentum. As we mentioned, Donkey Kong Country returns. We're down to the underground. 6 competitors, top 2 to finish. We'll continue to move along here in these championships. And Emil seems to have made it further than anybody else, trying to get to that crucial checkpoint.
Looks
You get
good.
more tries. But no, Emil! You have to be careful using those feather jumps. Let's see if 360 Chrism can master this part. Oh, 360 Chrism handles it. But here comes that mole with not 1 bomb, not 2 bombs. Well, let's go ahead and make it 1 more bomb. Oh! He dropped a bomb on me.
So true.
Baby.
So this part of the track, it's changing right before your eyes. You're gonna have to react like within milliseconds to make these jumps.
And Chris M. Oh, Chris M stands up too soon. Dan S, though, responding just fine, trying to navigate this tough part. 3 minutes left in this competition. We're looking for 2 players to finish. And actually, at a certain point, that rinse and repeat, you're going to learn from your mistakes.
That's right. You're going to get a rhythm. You're going to know what's coming until you get to the point where you didn't make it.
Donkey Kong's gonna have to jump, and duck underneath the icicles right there. Avoids the mole. Another jump. You better duck right there. Good jump right there. And the checkpoint right there. That's gonna help out a lot. Can Dan S be our first player to finish, avoiding the icicles dropping from zero? Oh, no! One more.
That one got him.
Oh. What a horrible way to wake up right there. Meanwhile, can Wyatt forge their way forward? We're looking for somebody to get to that barrel. Very tricky stage if you've never played before. Here comes more. No! Wyatt falling victim, but Ashley, you start to see that progression.
That's
They're learning. They're getting smarter.
Dan S making his way.
Dan S cruising along just fine, but here comes another mole in the foreground. There's a bomb. There's a second bomb. Let's go ahead and throw a couple more at you. DK trying to handle it.
Very
Nicely done. That mole's going to go for a trip. Now DK's got to duck.
Oh, Danny.
Paying attention to the mole.
Doesn't duck in time. Here goes Emil. We've got 1:50 left in our competition. Looking for a winner so far. Emil facing some more bombs from the mole, trying to dodge the. No! Emil falling short here, Eric. And this shows you how tough it is.
You know, it's not easy, but no one ever said becoming the Nintendo World Champion would be easy.
That's right.
It is not going to be easy at all. Dan S has had some success. Let's see if Dan S can avoid these jumps right here. Does a fine job. This is where Dan S bit some icicles earlier. Let's see if he can duck. Great job, Dan S.
Big bomb.
Big bomb. Gotta watch out for this chasm right here. Nicely done by Dan.
With the small.
What's this? A spinning crescent. Various portion of icicles. Not able to navigate it, unfortunately. And Wyatt trying to avoid some bumps here. It just gets crazier and crazier here at the 2017 Nintendo World Championships. We've got less than a minute left. Our crowd is on their toes right now, trying to find 2 winners that can advance out of the underground. Can Wyatt A learn his lesson? It's up for grabs. Wyatt A punches his ticket
Very nice.
through the checkpoint. Enough time for maybe 1 or 2 more attempts. Wyatt A hits the ceiling.
Got to get that small jump.
Butterfield, but here comes 360 Chris Sim, spinning on that track, avoiding the icicles. Got to jump right here.
Oh, this could be it. This could be it.
The adrenaline.
360 Chris Sim. 360 Chris Sim. Your first competitor.
Get it.
You have to go to the barrel. He does. 360 Chris Sim, your first player to advance. We now have 17 seconds to advance. We're looking for 1 more winner. There might be enough time for Yellow Killer B. 10 seconds left in this one. Will anybody get to the finish line in time? We don't know, but stick around. We'll find out who advances.
Oh.
And time! Yellow Killer B. Now, here's what's interesting here, folks. We had 1 player from our count up here get to the finish line. That's 360 Chris M. So now we have a tie. Who's going to get that second precious spot in the underground? Well, here are the rules for Donkey Kong Country Returns. We're going to do 1 more sudden death run. You get 1 life. Whoever advances the furthest will advance in the underground, and our judges will be able to determine who makes it the furthest. So you don't have to complete it here, Eric. You just have to get the furthest in this 1 attempt. So the stakes certainly raise as we get set for this tiebreaker.
Stakes are so high. I mean, this is the underground. If you mess this up, you're out of the competition.
And Ashley, you're looking at this stage, and now the players have had a chance to embrace failure multiple times on that level, learn a couple things.
You have to in Donkey Kong.
You have to, absolutely. So the strategy as you get set for this tiebreaker, is it still what you said earlier about that jump sensitivity?
It has to be, and it also has to be remembering all the parts you failed at just now. So it's, I mean, they really have to focus. They have 1 life. If they can make this, they're going to move on.
Eric, a wise old sage, once said maturity is not repeating your mistakes. So let's see if these gamers can mature and try and find that 1 precious spot to get set to advance in the underground. As we said, 360 Chris M advanced already. Sounds like the players are ready. Just to recap for you, 1 run, 1 life, the player that makes it the furthest or gets to the barrel at the finish line first. Players are ready with their championship hopes on the rails. Let's send it down to them. And you can peel the tension like a banana here right now, Chris. This crowd is nervous. The players are nervous because they've got their favorites early on. Ashley, you're nervous, and you look at whoever's going to go furthest. Keep an eye on your screen because these players have had experience with this level just for 6 minutes just a second ago.
Oh my gosh, 1 life, guys, 1 life. Use it well. Use it so well.
Whoever can make it the furthest. No! Asa Butterfield will be our first competitor to drop in this sudden death tiebreaker. However, everyone's pretty close. Looks like Dan S. and Wyatt are doing a fine job. Wyatt pretty far so far ahead. Remember, you want to advance and just survive. And this is such a tough mode when you know you don't have room for error. Oh no! Wyatt's going to go ahead and fall on your bottom right. Now it's just the top 3 screens that you're looking at. Yellow Killer B falls out. That means it's down between Emil and Dan S. Looks like Emil is slightly ahead at this point. Dan S. just 1 or 2 icicles behind. Whoever makes it the furthest is going to advance. Emil about 1 or 2 seconds ahead of Dan S. The first one to falter means they leave the door open for the next competitor in the underground. And this section coming up here, you've got the enemies. How do you navigate it here, Ashley?
You've got to keep your cool. Don't pop up too early. Don't jump too high.
They're hitting the moles right now. They're bouncing. They're avoiding icicles. First one to either fall down the pit or to touch the barrel. First one to touch the barrel at the end will be your winner. That's going to be Dan S. That survives and advances. My goodness, the pressure that you must feel in a moment like that, especially when you hear the crowd surging and Dan S. is pumped. Eric, those moments are what this championship was made for.
I was holding my breath that entire time.
I think I was too.
That was insane.
That was intense. That was so intense.